it's not quite a rule, but it's like a policy that you were supposed to do a number of pro bono cases. Well, I've done 4 to 8 pro bono cases a week for the entire duration of my career, doing first conventional psychotherapy and then into stress reduction therapy, right? Always, always, right? And again, I can't brag about that. That's what I'm supposed to do.
And we live in New Mexico where there's a lot of pretty wealthy people. And, do you think like the people are like that, like making like,
Well, understand, we live in Santa Fe where there's a
yeah,
lot of wealthy people. New Mexico is one of the poorest states in the
yeah. So in Santa Fe, do you think that some of the people who charge just like ridiculous amounts for their sessions, do you think they have a bunch of free pro
No,
bono sessions, or do you think that they're
no,
pretty?
I know for a fact that they don't. I know, I know they don't. And I'm sorry, but that is greed on a level that is, makes me want to spit on the ground.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's not right. It is not right. It's not right. Just
There's-
like, again, I have a fee that I charge for wealthy people. But I say to everybody, even wealthy people, this is my rate. What can you afford?
That's awesome. No, it reminds me of maybe it's a bad reference, but it's an old Chinese movie called the Iron Monkey, and he's the doctor, and he's a doctor, and he's handing out medicine prescriptions, and he gives one guy, the rich guy, a expensive one, and then he gives a poor one, way cheaper, and the guy's like, why is this so cheap? And he's like, do you want to get worse medicine? But it was, he was doing a sliding scale for the cheap people
Right.
and for the rich people, depending on, what they can afford. And
Right.
that
And
stuck with
what I
me,
say to rich people is you are allowing me to offer my services to some people who do not have what you have. Yes? So understand that by extension, you are doing a good act in paying me my full rate because you can afford it. Yeah? Because my high rate is about $50 an hour less than anybody else I know who does it.
Yeah, I just hear this really scary thing all the time from people in positions of wealth where it's like, yeah, that's how I got my wealth, or that's how you get wealthy, is by being selfish. And it's like,
Again,
well, yeah,
that's why I
duh.
hate capitalism. I'm sorry. Because remember, I tell you, because again, it does away with we. There's no we. It's all about me.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is called narcissism. You understand?
Yeah.
And narcissism is a mental disorder,
I
right?
want
And
to, sorry, continue. I don't mean to
well,
interrupt.
again, me is considered crazy. It is crazy.
Yeah,
But with capitalism, that is what is esteemed. That is what's respected. Yeah. Well, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
sure.
That's evil. That's called evil. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to write a story about the thought process that we've talked about a bunch of times about a bunch of people stuck at a train station,
I
and do they work together or not work together? And the people who work together obviously thrive, and the people who don't work together, kind of,
starve, baby.
yeah, yeah,
Right, no shit, no shit. I mean, and anyway, I don't want to start ranting about capitalism, but what we can talk about a little bit is selfishness, right? And again, the thing that really dismays me about American culture is that it reveres selfishness.
hmm all
It
of the
reveres,
yeah, all of the people that I've had these deep conversations about, you know, money who are wealthier than me, that it always comes back to, yeah, but that's how, what I just said before prior is that's how I got my money is being selfish, or that's how you get money is you have to be selfish, and they understand that they know that, but it's okay, that's right for them. It was like the
it's
conversation.
not right. It's not. I'm sorry. That would be called wrong. That
Yeah,
would be.
no, I agree. I
You
agree.
know, if we're working with do unto others as you would have others do unto you, right, which is the golden rule, or, right, love thy neighbor as thyself, which is what Jesus Christ said, right, then this idea of, vast selfishness to gain wealth would be called crazy and even evil. Yeah?
I maybe I'm making a leap here, but I feel like a lot of the people that say that this greed thing is good and should be used to make more money are also people who are typically Christians. A lot of them that I've talked to here in town.
All right, now it's all around. It's only because you're living in basically a Christian country.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
if you were in India, it would be the same thing. If you were in
Yeah,
China,
yeah.
it would be the same thing. And this is why, again, it is imperative that we acknowledge that the issue of disparity of wealth is not racial, right? It is economic. And the fact
100%.
is, this happens all around the world, right? All around the world. So in China, the disparity of wealth is not about black and white because everybody's yellow, right? You know, but the same thing is happening where the majority of the people have very, very little, and the select few have so much more than they need that it's really disgusting. I mean, it's disgusting. And I mean that with rock musicians and athletes too. It's like, holy shit. You know, what do you need to make $40 million a year for? What is wrong with you?
Yeah. I
You
saw
know,
this thing. It's an app that tracks people's movements in their house, and it was all these big people with mansions, and they would only use like the whole family would only use like like their rooms, the bathroom, and then like two rooms, and there'd be
I,
like 10 or 15 other rooms in the house that were just never ever used, and no one ever went into,
I,
and like
and again,
that's
in a sane world, you know, those other rooms could be rented out to people for very little rent, right? In a socialist mentality, who are homeless. I'm sorry, but this really pisses me off. Alex, you're probably aware that in Hodaka, I think I'm pronouncing it right, the northernmost island of Japan, which is like Alaska, right? You
yeah, it's
know,
cold up there. Yeah,
very cold.
yeah.
And there is a kind of monkey that lives there, and the way they survive is there are all these hot springs,
hmm
right? And so again, there is a caste system in that band of monkeys, and the upper classes, the upper caste, they get to hang out day and night in the hot springs when all the other ones don't. Well, a bunch of all the other ones who don't die from cold. They
Yeah,
die. Well, that's just like us.
yeah. It's no different. I don't see any difference.
If you look at monkeys doing it, we are aghast at how selfish and uncaring the monkeys are. Well, you know,
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if it's the Asia trip or everything prior to the Asia trip or even afterwards, me investigating Native American cultures a lot more, but I think my mind has shifted a lot more these past year or so, past couple of years, just in terms of, you know, the golden rule. But if we all did this, the world would be a better place. And it's so
that's what
simple.
it do. Be real. It would not
It would
be a better
shine.
place. It would shine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
yeah.
would shine, man. Yeah. And again, we wouldn't be dealing now with the climate goddamn crisis, right? Because of procrastination and denial, right? You know, everybody would be down with it because again, we love our home. Yeah.
Yeah. Every single day, there's a new article that comes out that says, "Well, we have, the tipping point. We're over the tipping point. We're over the tipping point."
And the only
And
thing is they've been saying that for like 30 years. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I think that that is a necessary mechanism to get the powers that be, not regular folk, not you and me,
hmm
right? The powers that be. I'm talking about Biden and the gang and,
hmm
everybody on both sides of the aisle who actually have power to say to mega corporations, your profit margin is not the most important thing if it's destroying the planet. Yeah.
You might have seen this. I just flashed over it because I saw it online, but I didn't go into the article. It said that the Biden administration just passed a new regulation for emissions that was going to really end tax for the ultra rich or something like that. Like that was the headline. I didn't look into it, but you know,
Well, the
I
other
hope that's
thing,
true.
hopefully, there's also a shitload of money for research into alternative energy. I mean, there's a bunch of money for that too. And hopefully, there'll be subsidies for that, just like there's subsidies for the gas conglomerates.
Yeah. And we're starting now to realize that there's a whole industry in the sustainability. So now we're finally starting to
Well,
go
again,
towards that,
to say that we are now aware of it is bullshit. I've been aware of that for 50
Yeah.
years, man. You know, right? Please,
Yeah.
please.
The
Yeah.
powers that be, I guess I should say.
Yeah, no, the powers that be. We got to get real with this. This is about truly a handful of people around the world. Maybe, I don't know, around the world, maybe 5,000 people who really are in power. You want to talk about the dark cabal? This is the real dark cabal who control the purse strings. So, of course, they control all of the power. And these are the people who are responsible for stalling renewable energy, right, that should have been off the ground, honest to God, about 30 years ago. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the masses of the people who are aware of this problem, again, the best we were able to do was Earth Day.
Yeah, it was really enlightening for me to go to the biofuels class at the community college, and I had to write a paper, and I decided to write my paper was on cars that use alternative fuels, not like biofuels, but use completely alternative fuels. And I researched all these cars that, were run on like water and run on like all these different things. But over time and time again, they would get shelved, they would get hidden, the people would go missing, like all of these things where it just got, buried every single time.
Biden in that truck, that the entire outside of the truck was little small solar panels. The whole truck was solar panels.
That's
And
cool.
and he took off like a bat out of hell, man. I mean, that was a powerful, big, huge truck.
Yeah.
There are now as clothing that you can wear when you're out jogging, that you can charge a battery by your jogging.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's so cool what's coming. It's so cool.
Yeah, no,
Now,
it's definitely coming.
hi, we gotta hurry. We
Yeah,
gotta hurry.
seriously, yeah.
Huh?
I mean, the article said that if we don't reduce our emissions within the next 50 years. That's what the article that just came out that I was reading. It said we have 50 years to reduce our emissions, and then if we do reduce them in the next 50 years, we can stabilize it. But
Hi.
if we don't, we're gonna raise like the temperature of the Earth by
It's gone. It's
yeah,
gone. Like you said, like all the fish dying in that river. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, this, nobody's talking about the fact, because we are so disconnected from farming, which is where we get our food, man, right? So the idea that farmers need subsidies, or they can't farm because they're not making enough money to get by, and this is an issue. Of course we subsidize the farms. That's where we get our food.
and what they're doing is they're cutting off all the farmers right now in
Hi.
the Midwest, because the drought, we're in such a bad drought that
Right, the
they
droughts and the floods,
and the fires,
yeah,
all of
So, like, again, on one hand, you can't fix stupid, but on the other hand, we have to.
yeah, yeah.
And I will say that, talking to this guy who I love in Houston, I love this guy, right? But I lost it a little bit. And I said, look, can't you just broaden your horizon just a little tiny bit, just a little bit? You know what I mean? He was talking about needing more protein, right? So I'm saying, well, dude, these new plant-based meals, have got a lot of protein. And he just didn't even hear it. He just didn't even hear it. He goes,
Hear
"Well, I need
plants.
more eggs." I go, dude, you're not hearing what I'm saying, right? And then finally I lost it. I mean, he's an anti-vaxxer. He thinks the climate crisis is bullshit. He thinks that, wearing a mask is the government trying to control him and trying to keep him in his house. And just, point by point by point, he is quoting Tucker Carlson, that idiot on Fox News, which again has absolutely zero critical thought. There is no critical
Yeah,
thought.
no, I've watched him before. He's so silly. He's ridiculous.
Yeah, but he's dangerous. You
He's
see,
very dangerous. Yeah,
dangerous.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and again, he needs to be in prison for promoting negligent mass homicide. In him saying that wearing a mask and getting vaccinated, right, is bad and wrong and fucked up, right, he is causing people to die.
Yeah. And then what's even more ironic is that his company is now making everybody get vaccinated, and what is it, Fox or CNN? CNN, right?
No, he's Fox. He's
Fox.
Fox.
It's Fox. Yeah, it's Fox. It was Fox, I'm pretty sure, but they said that they're now making all their employees get vaccinated, even though their employees are telling people not to get vaccinated. And so,
And once again, it's not their employees. It is the newscasters who are doing that. We need to be specific, right? It is not the guy filming, by the way, case in point, right? Filming, right? Right? Who is the camera, the guy working the camera, right? To film the newscasts.
yeah, he's just there to make it. He's just there working. It's not his fault.
Yeah, just as far as the degree that you were considering, that might be one of the things that you cover your ass with is, in the same way that people who go into writing will very often then also study journalism, so that then they have journalism as a fallback while they are trying to write, enough short stories or a novel or whatever it may be to have that be their way of making an income, right?
Yeah, no. So Phil, be a camera operator, because
Yes.
I would love to be a camera operator. If I could get into the industry, just being a camera operator, that would be cool. That'd be really cool.
Like my daughter is in the accounting department in the movie industry, and she is, she's not part of SAG, the Screen Actors Union or Guild, right? But she's in a comparable union where she has got a fantastic health plan. She has got a retirement plan, all this stuff, and she's getting paid she's getting paid very, again, in the scheme of things, right? She's probably making about $2,000 a week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well, that's
$100,000
a year.
Yeah, that's pretty fast. Yeah.
Well, that's plenty of money. When I was making $100,000 a year, if there was plenty of money to do anything I wanted to do, thank you, right? I didn't take advantage of it and do business class to Maui, but I could have,
Yeah, I don't mind doing something a lot lower in the film industry, like being a assistant or doing camera operation or gaffing, which is like lighting.
There are no camera operators. There's no film.
Yeah.
So this is not lesser than, yes?
Just in terms of money, I guess, how much you get paid, right?
Right.
You get paid like $100,000, like if you write a good script and and you sell it to like Netflix or whatever, they'll pay you like $100,000 per script, which is pretty overwhelming to me. That's ridiculous.
They'll pay you a lot more than that. I've got a friend who's, he was the guy who wrote the script for, The Little Pony or some fucking animated thing, and he got paid about $500,000 for that script. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it gets even higher. I was just thinking like from the ones that I've heard, like kind of entry level, like someone just wrote a script, sent it to Netflix, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll pay you $100,000." But like, all of that, like that's a lot of money. So I would,
I was doing 40-hour weeks when I was making $100K, right? I'm not making half that anymore, and I don't need it.
Yeah.
I don't need it. Now, again, you are making your way through life, and you want, my beautiful car, it gets driven so seldom that it's still in really good shape, even though it's like 60 years old.
So my mom, she got both of her vaccinations.
Good.
She's double vaxxed now.
Did you get yours? Are you done?
Yeah, I got I've been double vaxxed for a couple months now. But it's funny because my aunt Val, I don't know if you've ever met Val. She's the youngest of three sisters.
I met once or twice. Yeah.
She was always the one who seemed a lot more clear-headed, in terms of like conspiratorial minded. Like my mom was always a lot more conspiratorial minded than her. But for some reason, she's the only one out of the three sisters who hasn't gotten vaccinated yet, which is weird because now my mom got vaccinated before her, which is just, it doesn't, it's very weird. But my mom also just got a job too, so she's working right now. So she's started to, get back in the process.
I mean, she has to.
Yeah.
And this is beyond stupid. I mean, this is so beyond stupid. I just can't even believe. I can't believe it. Yeah. I mean, I read an article this morning where it said COVID vaccine equals death. It actually said that. Yes.
I just can't believe these guys were calling, not these guys, but a large portion of the right was calling everybody snowflakes, essentially pussies, and now they're the ones who can't even wear a mask.
Right.
That mask is too much
Those
for
are
them.
the ones who are dying now in droves. They're the ones who, in Florida, I think it's Florida, um, the COVID cases are up 152% in the past couple of weeks.
I think Florida is collapsing right now
Right?
because they've had four different buildings that they've had to evacuate because they were starting to fall, and they
Huh.
haven't said why, you know, but they haven't connected it to it.
Because the water table is rising,
Yeah,
right? So the land mass is no longer that stable. That's what it
yeah.
is. I mean, that's
Well,
what, and you know, I read after watching this really not very good TV show, but a serial, but I enjoyed it immensely, almost. The hell, Blood Ties or something like that. Anyway, it was about people living in the Florida Keys,
mhm.
right? Well, there was a little ditty in there about this beautiful, beautiful hotel that was a couple of generations old, and the gal wanted to sell it, and it became worthless because the Florida Keys are going to be underwater in another decade. So I actually went online, and that's the projection that all of the Florida Keys are going to be underwater.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you this or if you told me this actually, but I just someone told it to me, but it was the mayor of one of the places, like maybe there was the senator of Florida or a mayor of one of the towns in Florida, but he was saying that the pumps, there's pumps going, pumping all the water out, and that they're going to stop working in 20 years. And then they asked him, "What are you going to do about it?" He said, "I don't care. I'm not going to be here."
Yeah,
You know,
you
yeah,
see, you see, this is, you know, this is crazy. I mean, this is not just selfish, it's crazy. I mean,
it's
I wonder if
sociopathic.
he
Yeah.
has children. Does he have any children? You
Right?
know?
I mean, and if he doesn't, maybe he's thinking like, ha ha ha, I don't have children. Screw your children.
Again, that would be called again in you know here in the midst of eternity. That would be called crazy and vicious. That would be
Yes,
called vicious. All
right,
right, that would be called evil. It's
right.
really evil. It really is. It's not okay. Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah,
I
it's scary, but
I know. But again, since we're talking about this today, it really is important to get real. You know, we do have to accept an economic system that is geared, right, to keep the wealthy wealthy and to keep the poor poor and to keep the middle class endlessly struggling, right, so that they can't look around. I mean, this was one of the things that scared the shit out of the powers that be about the 60s, right? There was enough people with enough affluence and enough education so they could go, wait a minute, wait, there's all this stuff going on which is wrong. This is wrong,
mhm,
right? As in racism. That's wrong. That's not okay, right? As in gender inequality. That's wrong. Well, the powers that be went, oh shit, right? We are now getting a cultural revolution that is taking the masses in a direction away from us and our commodities,
mhm,
right? Right? So we can't have that. So you'll notice that in the early 70s, boom, the economy almost crashed. Boom, fuel, right? Gas, quadrupled in price. Yeah. And I maintain that this is all orchestrated by the
mhm,
real dark cabal, which has been in play for thousands of years.
yeah,
It's basically the very rich. It's
yeah.
the gentry. It's the landed gentry. Do you know that term?
I've heard it from you before. I've heard you say it.
Well, that was the reference prior to the Industrial Revolution that wealth was based on, which is how much land do you have, hence the term landed gentry.
Mhm,
The gentry were the aristocracy, right?
yeah,
And the reason why they were aristocracy instead of villagers, tenants, working people, is because they had these huge tracts of land, which then they could make income from with crops and stock and cattle and tenants and all the rest of that stuff, right?
and then I'm just thinking like, once boat and traveling across the world on boats became a thing. Then there was all the trade, slavery, and cotton and stuff like that. And then
Well,
oil,
it's
once
not
oil became a thing.
you're referencing America. The fact is, you know, I'm reading the Pali Canon now, which is the foundational Buddhist scriptures, right? So this is 2,500 years old, and again, it is referencing the culture and the society of India. Well, again, in there it says over and over and over again that monks and nuns cannot have boy and girl slaves. So what that means is that was a norm in this brown country, right? Yes, of again, caste system all the way down to a slave caste, right? It also does need to be said quietly that the reason why Northern Europeans, including Spain, thank you very much, brown people, thank you, right, went to Africa to get slaves is because with tribal warfare all throughout Africa, right, slavery was a norm.
Yeah,
And
the whole
black people, yes.
what is the part of the ocean that's inside the gates of Gibraltar?
The Mediterranean.
Mediterranean
Yeah.
for you
The
know.
Mediterranean, it was not the same because the Mediterranean was basically a lot more built up as far as civilization goes with cities and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about tribal Africa, right? Which is much more sort of Central and South Africa, right?
Yeah.
Where again, with warring tribes, same with with the indigenous people in America, same thing. It's the same. Now, this is not saying, therefore, slavery is right. Slavery is wrong. It's horrific, right? As is economic slavery, equally wrong. Yeah? No, the fact is the issue, once again, is about power and misuse of power. And we have to stay focused on what the real evil is. Yeah? The fact that it manifests in America racially, right, you know, is only because, again, this is a melting pot.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is now that the British Raj has been out of India for, you know, 60, 70 years, you know, the new infamy in India, the misuse of power in India is about Indians abusing Indians. It's not about the British Raj abusing Indians. The problem is the abuse.
Yep.
The problem is the misuse of wealth and power. That's the real problem. And again, this is what Marx talked about, for God's sake. Yeah? Karl Marx, not Groucho. Yeah?
I don't even know who Groucho Marx is, but I do know who Karl Marx is.
Groucho Marx was one of the four Marx brothers. You don't know about the Marx brothers?
I'm not sure. Is he?
Oh, they were wonderful comedians in like the 30s, the 40s, and a little bit into the 50s. And oh, dude, Mark Marx brothers, dude, YouTube it, man.
I'll check it out.
And again, they were all also musicians, and Harpo played the harp. And in every single one of their movies, at a certain point, Harpo plays the harp. And that is not carpentry. That is a maestro, and it's beautiful. Oh, Jesus. And the Marx Brothers also, in almost all their movies, they always had lots of black people in their movies.
And they're white guys, or?
Yes, they're white guys,
yeah.
Which was unheard of in the 30s, 40s, and the 50s in the movie industry. Unheard of. Yeah?
Yeah, at that time, they were still doing blackface, huh? They were painting people's faces.
Indeed. Absolutely right. You know, now, I do want to point out there's an old Jewish joke, right? So an old Jewish man goes into a restaurant. He sits down and he orders a bowl of soup. So the waiter comes and brings him the soup. The waiter starts to walk away, and the old Jewish guy says, "Will you taste my soup?" And the waiter goes, "Is there something the matter with your soup?" And the old guy goes, "Will you just taste my soup?" Right? And the waiter goes, "Would you like something else?" Is it what, you know, what? Just taste the soup. And the waiter goes, all right. Where's the spoon? Ah, says the Jewish guy. You get it?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. He didn't bring the spoon.
He didn't bring the spoon. All right.
Yeah.
Well, joke I heard in Coming to America with Eddie Murphy dressed up as an old Jewish guy. a white Jewish guy. Well, there was no hue and a cry about Eddie Murphy dressing up in whiteface.
Yeah. Did he? I didn't even know that's a thing. Really, he played a white face character in that.
Yes, yeah. Eddie
Yeah.
Murphy is astonishingly versatile. He is, as was Arsenio Hall. There's a barber shop in that movie, and Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall play the old guys in that. And one of them also, Eddie Murphy plays this old Jewish guy who hangs out with the old black guys in the barber shop,
Yeah.
right?
I
And
think
that tells that amazingly funny joke.
I think like it's like situational ethics, you know, like what is his name? Robert Downey Jr. played the Australian
I
pretending to be the
I
blackface and
be
that.
a black guy. I
Yeah.
got I got
But I don't think anyone really gave him crap for that role either. I don't think he got
no. There was
canceled.
actually crap about that. There was a whole bunch of crap about that. Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, I see people still to this day are like, you know, defend it, saying it's not that bad. Like it gets brought up every now and then, but then like there's
Well,
you know,
again,
oh,
it depends on how the white face or the black face is being presented. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, if black face is being presented as the black person being a fool or evil or like that, I would say that's. But again, in Eddie Murphy doing this beautiful impression of an old Jewish guy, it was just it was just beautiful.
yeah.
Accent, the Bronx accent. He had
That's what I was saying. Is it's like situational ethics, you know, like I think that specific situation, it's totally different, right? Than
Well,
like in the 30s.
I don't think it's totally different. I think it's absolutely the same thing. And again, this is where, is there racism in America? You damn right there is, right? That's the problem, not blackface and whiteface. Excuse me. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, that's not an issue to me, but that's just what we're talking about.
It sort of minimizes the real issue, which is real rampant racism. It's the real deal, right? It's like the Me Too movement with Taylor Swift. Is that right? Do I have her name right?
Yeah, the artist, yeah.
Yeah, the artist, right?
Yeah.
Again, her being up in arms, her knickers in a twist, because of Prince Charming kissing Snow White without getting her permission first. Well, she was in a coma, number one. Number two, that was the way the enchantment got broken. Number three, it's a fucking cartoon that's not even real, in the midst of Harvey Weinstein really being a sleazebag with women, or homo, or Donald Trump, misusing women because they are men of power. That's the issue.
Yeah.
You see? So in her minimizing the Me Too movement with that focus, it makes it absurd. It makes it stupid. Yes? Cops killing black people is the norm. That's got to stop. That's evil. That is called evil, right? Robert Downey Jr. dressing up in blackface or Eddie Murphy dressing up in whiteface, not so much, huh? Right? And again, Eddie Murphy was honoring the beautiful part of being an old Jewish guy, right, with a deep sense of humor and a degree of cynicism. Right? Another one of my favorite Jewish jokes, which I've told you, is an old Jewish guy's walking down the road going, I'm so hungry, I'm so hungry. So he goes into a restaurant, he has a meal, then he's back out on the street saying, I was so hungry, I was so hungry. Well, that's not old Jewish guys, that's all of us.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah. So here's a question then. So I mean, I guess it doesn't even matter. I don't want to get back into it. It was about the blackface, whiteface, so I don't even care. But I agree with what you're saying. I definitely agree.
I mean, we need to keep the infamy real. It's not about something that's superficial. It's not. Yeah. There are much more real, horrible, just horrible racist expressions happening that we need to stay focused on. Yeah.
I think we gotta end. But can I say one thing before we end?
Yeah, sure.
So I have an idea because I've looked at it from other people. Like these one guys, they went to a different went to Europe to film a movie, and they grew crops of corn in the area because they needed it for the movie. And this area never really had corn before. But then once the movie was over, they were able to sell all the corn and make some more money on top of spending all this money for the movie. So my thought process is like when I go in somewhere to create a film or to film something, like building houses, building stuff, they're always building stuff and they're always using multiple cars and stuff like that. Create some way that I can create another secondary industry out of that I can like start like a business for, people to, or something, like create out of the excess comes with film.
In the film industry, I mean, if you'll excuse me, that is already in place, and that's the justification that the movie industry uses for making $100 million movies. Is look, we are giving like 600 people work, right?
Well, yeah, no, I'm thinking about like how they build a building and then they blow it up. They'll build like this freaking gigantic mansion just for this movie. At the end of it, they'll blow it up, and like you could build that giant mansion and then keep it and then let people live in it, like something like that. Like
You see, this is rank socialism. You see
of course,
But again, see, right? On one hand, right, it is viewed as dangerous. On the other hand, as far as you and I are concerned, because we're not stupid, right, it actually makes sense. See?
Yeah, I think that's important to distinguish too.
Well done, dude. So, are you going to be at class tomorrow?
Yep, I'll be there.
Cool.
And is David and coming?
David will stagger his way in. Marco already has got to go to yet another funeral with his dad, because his dad's people are dying off left, right, and center. There's been 4 of them in the past 3 months. Yeah.
Oh, shit! Wow, that's intense. Yeah.
Well, again, that's why it is in our interest to really get to enjoying life while we have it. You know what I'm saying? Instead of not.
Yeah, seriously. All right.
All right, dude. Love to you.
Love you too, man. Have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow.
Hi.